Welcome to another episode of the Perry Thomas Show. I'm the host, Collin Sheffield, and also the voice of Fighting Tiger football. The Tigers took an exciting season opener, 60-14 against the St. Andrews Knights. It's the first victory in a season opener since 2017, and the first win in 329 days for the Tigers. Coach, this one has to feel good. Finally have a win under your belt.
No doubt about it. It's been a long time for these guys and for the program and the fans to get a victory, on Finley Field, Finley Stadium. So it was great to get that win, but also great to open the season with the win. It's a lot easier to win more when you start with the win. So, I'm very proud of our guys and our coaches for the work ethic. And it was a hot, miserable day on the field somewhat. Got a little long. But that's football, in 4 months we'll come back, hopefully in the playoffs, and it'll be a cold, miserable day, but hopefully we can still be winning. So very excited about the win, very excited about it setting us up for, possibilities of a good start to the season. And we just got to continue to get better and move forward.
And a full game, it's a very exciting start for the season, but also a very exciting start to that game. The Tigers were all over Andrew Fowler in the backfield. I mean, immediately the defense was doing a great job of the penetration, able to get through, and then able to take advantage of the messed up punt on their side. You get the ball on the 1 yard line, and we get our first look at Trey Bass, the transfer from WKU. He punches it in from the 1 yard line. What a way to start your season.
Yeah, great way. And we did exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to come out and really get after them early. The one thing we noticed when they had played Lindsey Wilson the week earlier, Lindsey got after him, got on him real quick, got after him early. They have a long bus trip up here, 2 weeks in a row, hot day, and typically when you're on the road, you're going to travel less roster guys. So, our thing was let's come out and set the tone early. Both of us was looking for something to get excited about. Both of us struggled last year. So we knew both of us need to come out and find something to get excited about, and we need to set that tone. Defense came out and got after him right off the bat. And then I think we got a big sack on third down, forced them to a backed up punt. The snap was bobbled a little bit, and our pressure got to them. And then, of course, offense just had to have one play to punch it in. From a head coaching standpoint, you couldn't start any better, right? So, now you got to keep your guys' temperament right, though, because they're ready to celebrate and go crazy because we haven't had as much success lately. So we just had to now keep them focused. But a great way to start.
So we'll take a look at the box score really quick. Some of our big players, that 60-14 win. The Tigers, Josh Meglis, he was 10 for 15, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. Archulus Smith, 103 yards, rushing, 2 touchdowns. And then Hakeem Dillard, who was just named NCCAA Defensive Player of the Week, 7 tackles. He had 2 of those tackles for loss, a sack, and 2 forced fumbles. I don't know. Hakeem Dillard was great on that front line. You also had some great players on the back. You lose Kobe Reese, a few of those big guys that were playing cornerback and safety for you last year, and the freshman Brumfield able to come in and fill those spots nicely.
Yeah, so I thought those guys obviously played very good football games, and this, the other guys did also. When you look at the picture, Josh had a great game at quarterback. And one of the reasons, though, is we talked about coming into this game, our offensive line's a little more mature, but also we have those running backs. And when you can run the football, you can take some pressure off that quarterback because he doesn't have to stand back there and throw the ball 35, 40, 45 times a game. So that helped tremendously. But I thought he made some really great decisions, threw some really good passes and catchable balls, especially on some of those go routes when they jumped off sides and so forth. In the past, we've just thrown those out of bounds. And, Josh was able to connect with Sauer on a couple of those and move the sticks for us. Archulus ran the ball really well. He, along with the other backs, I thought that C.A. Collins ran the ball really well, and Trey Bass did also. But Archulus had a big game, and I think you'll see more big games out of those running backs. Those guys not only did they run the ball well, but they ran the ball physical. And they got extra yards, and they're tough to bring down in the open field. So, that makes it a lot easier on the quarterback, and, the quarterback having success makes it a lot easier on that running game, and the offensive line did a great part with that. And then defensively, Hakeem had a tremendous football game. You know, he's a hybrid type player for us. So he will walk up and play off the edge sometimes. He'll play an outside linebacker, and you'll see him in man coverage sometimes also. But he had a tremendous game, being the NCCAA Player of the Week. Very deserving, but I thought Grover Russell was really steady on that defensive line, and Trevor Harmon. And then you look at that secondary, other than one big play, you know, those guys back there did a tremendous job. And part of that, and we didn't really bring a lot of pressure, but part of that is because we got after the quarterback early. Coach Burnett, our DC, did a good job of getting after him early, so now the quarterback's not knowing when we're going to come. And so he's just throwing the ball up a few times, and I thought our guys did a good job and responded well.
They rotated several times. Devontae Allen was a big piece for that St. Andrews Knights offense. And the Tiger defense really seemed to do a great job of shutting him down. What was that game plan? You know, they ran a lot of those motion routes to try to get him the ball and get to the edge. And I thought the Tigers did an amazing job of closing off that edge and forcing him either into the sideline or to cut back right into the defense.
Yes, and that was the game plan. You know, the game plan was to make him go east and west as opposed to north and south, and to stymie his speed and quickness before he could get upfield. And I thought our guys did a great job of doing that, and they executed the game plan well. And then, we just had to be physical, coming into that first game, and it'll be the same thing this week. Part of that early season is you're going to make some mistakes. I don't care who you are. The greatest teams in the country make mistakes, especially early in the year. So you have to be very physical. You have to go out and set a tone and get after people. And I thought that, that defense really came out early and set a tone. And with other than two plays, they had a long run when we subbed a lot, and then they had the miscue in the secondary where they got behind us. Other than those plays, defense really pitched a shutout, and did a great job. And once again, though, it's a team effort. You look at the kicking game even, and how our kickers, Neely and Lopez kicked the ball. I mean, we were booting the ball through the end zone, and so now they're starting at the 25 every time, and that's a backed up field. So if you can hold them to 3 and out, we're going to get the ball in a good territory for short drives.
And there were several times, I know I mentioned it, if you watched the game or you tuned in online or on the radio, I mentioned several times that there were several moments where the Knights offense was within 30 yards, and the Tigers were still able to come up with those big plays. I know we mentioned, and Khalil Baker mentioned the face mask call, and we said, I wouldn't advocate for it, but it certainly, you all were able to come back from that. It stopped the touchdown, and then you were able to come away with the ball and get a stop, no points.
Exactly.
So another great
and you never want penalties, and you're certainly not trying to hurt anyone. But I'd rather get an interference call or face mask than give up the touchdown. Give yourself a couple of more downs to stop them, and we were able to do it. But I thought we played good red zone defense. We work on that a lot, and we had played good red zone offense also. And I thought our guys responded, and you're going to have that. There's going to be times that they're going to get the ball in scoring territory, and you have to stand up and keep them out there to give your offense a shot to go down and score.
Well, we will be right back. We're going to step away for a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
To Sofia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show. I'm Collin Sheffield here with head coach Perry Thomas in his 15th season. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of our highlights from that past game. Thanks to the Sports Information Department for putting together such a great video, and they do such a great job of covering the Tigers. We'll take a look at the highlight video coming up in just a second. But the Tigers able to come away with a lot of big stops. The Aiden Murray, long snapper, coming in on Sunday, I believe. He just started practicing. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking for a long snapper, someone that's consistent. Long snapping is more important than anybody that's not involved with football every day ever realizes. You know, there's guys in the NFL that are making $1 million a year and all they do is long snap. That's it. And, you know, we have some guys on the team that are capable, but Aiden started doing it Sunday, I believe, and did such an excellent job that he wound up doing it quite a bit in the game, and is probably going to move into that starting role as our long snapper right now because it allows Luke Shepperson and some of those other guys to get a little more rest at receiver. So we're excited about that. And like I said, if there's anybody out there wondering what can I do to get my kid playing football and have a chance to get scholarships and make it to the NFL, long snapping is a way to do it because, you know, people are making big money, and that's all they do. It's long snap. It's just huge. It's on all your punts and your field goals and extra points, and you just have to have that consistency. And Aiden stepped in as a freshman and did a great job. You know,
originally that's not what you come in for, but you love that out of your players. Yes. You know, a team player that's willing to step into those uncomfortable roles, try it out, say, hey, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to help this team.
Well, there's no doubt about it. And football is, you know, one of the ultimate team sports. When you really look at it, you know, there's guys out there that have never touched the ball, you know, on the offensive end, never get the glory, but they sacrifice for the team success. Same thing on defense, you know. So it's the ultimate team sport to have a guy like Aiden and some of the other guys to step in and say, Coach, let me try. And, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice. Let me do this thing. So very proud of him and the other guys. And you know, and that's what you get when you walk in that huddle in football.
And Byron Kennedy, the new running backs coach, you know, talk a little bit about him and this transformation, really, of a triple threat of running backs between C.A. Collins, Archulus Smith, and Trey Bass.
Yeah, so, you know, Coach K does a great job of setting a tone with those guys and showing a great deal of excitement in practice and in games on getting the most out of those guys. And, you know, the tough part about it that people really don't realize is that you have three really good backs right there, really good running backs. You go to any school in this league, and those guys could possibly be the starters at those schools, and they're sacrificing. They had about the same amount of carries the other day, and they're sacrificing, giving up those reps for their teammate to get those reps, knowing that if they were carrying it 30 to 45 times a game, their stats would be humongous, right? But once again, it gets into the ultimate team sport of football. And Coach K does a great job of making them understand that it's not about that individual, it's about us as a team and what's best for us as a squad. And those guys did a great job. I think they scored 5 touchdowns in the running back position because he kept running down the field talking about, Coach, that's 5, that's 5. So, you know, they did a great job, and he does a great job of leading those guys. And it takes a really good leader to make those guys understand the sacrifice that comes with that position.
You see the highlights here. That was that opening drive, able to get to the quarterback early. Trey Bass punching it in for your first score of the game. I mean, the running back game extremely strong. There's his second touchdown. The Tigers were rolling early. You know, you have C.A. Collins moving through, able to get big holes. You mentioned the O-line, able to help with that and set things up, and that also leads into, you know, the impact player of the game as well, and Josh Meglis able to get back and your field.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When those running backs are getting those open field runs right there, that means that those receivers are downfield blocking, and it also means that the defense is getting some stops. I think we had 3 takeaways in the game, and we didn't turn the ball over any. And when you have that type of combination, you have a great chance to win. The one thing we have to get better at is penalties. But going into game 1, I expected those, and we just have to continue to work on that.
Andre Seiler, the big man Zach Cole right there coming up with the touchdown. You also got to see 2 new quarterbacks. There's one right there. We got to see Gillis come in, and we also saw Manning as well. How important is it to get them those early reps?
Well, it's huge. They need that varsity experience. They need to go out and play college football. Both of them are true freshmen. They need to get out there and see and feel the speed that the game plays, like on a college game day. The college game is so much faster than the high school game. And for those guys to get out there and get some positive reps, Jagger threw his only pass, and the first pass of his career was a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And I told him I don't even think Coach Brown did that, and he was All-American. So, it was great for both of those guys. And I'm telling you, Jagger and Manning both are going to be tremendous football players for us down the road.
Seiler had an amazing game as well. We saw him go up early for that over-the-head catch. Meglis, the impact player of the game, able to take advantage, as you mentioned, of the offsides. We always say, take that shot because it's going to come back anyway. You see what you can get. And several times he was able to come up with those big plays that would eventually lead to those touchdowns.
No doubt. Seiler had a really good game, and it was great to see him get started. He's one of the guys that can stretch the field for us. And we have some really good receivers. You look at Patrick Oden, Zach Cole, Luke Shepperson, and Tim Pope, the freshman, had his first catch of the year. Tayshawn Key had a touchdown. So I think as the season goes on, you're going to see more of those weapons touch the ball, hopefully, and get a chance to have success. And the more spread out we can be with the running backs and the receivers, the better chance we have of having a positive offense. Things are going to get tougher for us as the competition gets tougher, but hopefully we're going to continue to get better also.
So we're going to step away for a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about the upcoming matchup on Saturday with the Union Bulldogs. You're following The Perry Thomas Show.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
It took 20 years, and I got my 3rd child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
So the Tigers taking on the Union Bulldogs on Saturday. Kickoff is at 7. You can join me and Khalil Baker for the call on 88.7 The Tiger. Coach, Union has had a little bit of a rough start to their season. They're 0-2. They lost to the Cumberlands 30-6. and they lost to Lindsey Wilson, who's really just a buzzsaw for the NAIA in general. They lost 50-3 was the score of that one. We talked about that first game at the Cumberlands, that it's not as bad as it looked. You touch on that just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they've played two really good football teams. You know, coming into the season, I think University of Cumberland was 19th ranked in the country, top 25 anyway. Lindsey was number 4th ranked team in the country, and you know, they've lost to two really good football teams. If you look at the Cumberland's game in game 1, they were actually down maybe 8-6 or 12-6. Can't remember exactly at halftime. And they wound up losing toward the end. You know, it was the fourth quarter. Cumberland's kind of pulled away from them, and I think they just got worn down a little bit. And also, Union had some injuries, so some of their quarterback went out of the game, and a couple of key linemen went out of the game. So that's the difference maker right there. This team is a much better team than St. Andrews. They're very big, they're experienced, and they're physical. Strong football team. And it's easy for someone to look at the scores and think, well, this is not a solid team. But Lindsey's beating everyone like that right now. And University of Cumberland, over the last 4 years, has been a playoff team. So, you know, we got our work cut out for us this week.
So what are you seeing in the film room? What are you seeing to match up offensively and defensively?
Yeah, so defensively, they're going to be a 3-4 defense. We'll play some 4-man front. And I think if we go 2 tight ends, may give us a 5-man look. But it'll be a very similar look to what St. Andrews gave us on defense. But their personnel is different. You know, they got two nose guards, actually, 2 zero technique nose guards over at center. One of them's 435 pounds. The other one's 396 pounds. And they're football players. You know, they are mobile. They are active, strong. They push the pile. That's my first concern. You know, we have to be able to deal with that big guy in the middle of the field. One of their linebackers is 290. You know, big, strong guy, moves well, big secondary. So they're a very physical defense, very capable of getting after you. You know, one of the things that the other 2 teams that they've played have done is kind of worn them down. So I'm hoping that we can kind of do that also. Offensively, they're going to look a little bit like St. Andrews, but better personnel again. They're going to be one back mostly, run a lot of inside, outside zone, and some lead. And then depending on what quarterback plays, if their starter plays, then he's going to run the ball quite a bit. If their backups play, they'll run it some, but they're going to try to throw a little bit more with those guys. Now, the starter's not just back there running quarterback stuff. He will run quarterback stuff, but he's also going to drop back to pass, and pressure comes, he could take off. And so you have to be very smart when you're defending him because he can hurt you. He's a true dual threat guy, so he can hurt you either way. You know, the big thing for us, again, though, is game 2. We have to take care of us. You know, we have to be focused more on us than them. And that's not to shortchange them. It's just to understand that for us to get to our goal this week is to be Union. But our goal is eventually to be conference champs, national champs, so forth. For us to get to that, then we have to get better. So we have to be focusing on correcting the mistakes we made last week, improving our packages, and then, you know, focus on them also with our physicality and our discipline, lining up correctly and doing proper things, eliminating some of those penalties and so forth. But the big thing for me, like I said, is we got to be focused on us. We have to get better going into game 2 so that we're ready to get better going into game 3, which starts our actually league play.
And you talk about the physicality and the size of Union. We mentioned with the Knights how the wide receiver core was so big, and they really outsized the secondary for Campbellsville. The secondary did a good job of covering that. You know, Cook had several good plays. I mean, you're just inevitably going to give up a few. But what are you seeing from the Union core? Any of the same sizes? Or?
Yeah, same size, but much more physical. Much more physical. They're going to, when they come to block you, excuse me, they're going to actually block you. You know, they're going to get after you. When they run in routes, they're going to give you a little forearm push-off routes, and they run the routes really good. One of the things that helps us is we're one of the faster defenses in the league. You know, there's not many defenses out there from top to bottom that's going to run as fast as we do, even with our front. So that helps us tremendously. And then we run some good packages to help on people, but their receivers are very good. Our hope is that we don't give him enough time to just pick us apart. that we can get after the QB and stop the run enough, not just with stunts, though, but with our fundamentals and our physicality in that box that it doesn't allow them to just sit back there and get free. Sometimes the other night when a game got in hand, we stopped stunning and we stopped twisting and doing different things like that. And it allowed the quarterback a little more time to find things. And then we also have to remember, too, that in that game one, we played everybody, so you completed depleted the entire roster in that game. So I'm not sure you'll see that this week. We'll have our ones and twos out there for the most part. So we just got to get better.
We talked about how the Tigers were able to come up with a few big stops. We talked about how the offense moving forward is, Josh Meglis able to get it done, the O-line stopping. Do you think that the O-line is going to have, any trouble with this athletic front? Do you see him as strong as you feel from this game?
I mean, it's not so much their front's athletic. They're just big and strong. I think that they could cause us trouble, yes. If we can't handle that big old jokers in the middle, they could cause us a lot of trouble. We have to figure out how we can get bodies on those nose guards to allow us to open some space inside. You're talking about 400-pound guys that are good football players. You got to figure they're taking up a ton of space just standing there. And they're not just big blob guys. They're football players. So they could give us a big challenge up there. And the way we can get over that, though, is with their guts and fundamentals. So meaning that, we're going to be fundamentally sound. We're going to be on their hips like we're supposed to be. We're going to be down low, coming off the ball, charging. And then we're going to get in there and compete. Now, if we go in there and try to position step them and block them, they'll blow us up. If we go in there and just try to use that technique but don't get after them, they'll blow us up. So we got to put it all together to be able to move a box like this. I'm excited for the challenge, though. I do feel like we have a good offensive line. And this is a week that our offensive line will have opportunity to prove that.
Is there anything from this first game moving into the second game that you saw out there, maybe plays or certain players in a certain position that didn't work for you that you might change up here for this next game?
Well, no, not yet. There's things that you will start eliminating from the package and things you'll start adding. I'm not sure game one, especially in the 60-14 win, is that game you do it on. We need a little more work to find out for sure. But there'll be things that you'll see a little different this week. We both will have some wrinkles that were a little different, some plays out of different formations, both offensively and defensively, and they'll do the same thing. It's just part of coaching. But we're not ready to make any wholesale changes yet. I think you'll see the same personnel and the same designs basically right now.
Well, thank you, Coach, for coming in.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for taking the time out to talk to Tiger Nation. We will be on the road. That is the game against Union, the Bulldogs. That'll be September 10th, this Saturday at 7 p.m. You can join us on 88.7 The Tiger. Myself and Khalil Baker will be in Barberville for that matchup. So tune in. Be sure to cheer loud, come out. Thank you for coming out as well. In the last game, it was a packed house. Good to see for sure. Good to feel that energy back within Fighting Tiger football. Thank you for joining in to the Perry Thomas Show.